This video is just a short precursor to enlightenment. Now what I wanted to talk about today, and it'll be a short video, is to clarify the difference between duality and non-duality. Now, of course, there are many different names for the for those particular concepts, but today we understand at least the terms. I will say that most people that believe the concept of non-duality either do not understand it, or if they do understand it, they are participating alongside evil and satanic, demonic forces to perpetrate a lie that has been going on since the beginning of time. The purpose of that is to, when I say the purpose of that, I mean the purpose of the teaching of non-duality. The purpose behind it is to capture the intelligence and wisdom of people that would otherwise become one with God, but because they have either strong, all the way from extremely strong to extremely weak, a desire to become one with Satan. And when I say Satan, those that are from the Eastern philosophies of Hinduism, Buddhism, and all that kind of stuff, when I say Satan, that's a Christian term for the exact same individual in Hindu philosophy and teachings as Shiva. Same person. When I say that, that sometimes upsets people, or more, well, actually always upsets people from the Eastern spiritual teachings. And the reason is because they have been taught for tens of thousands of years that Shiva is their God, is the greatest of all great. And that is true on this physical plane of existence, because he indeed is the God of this realm, this reality that we find ourselves on planet Earth, in this galaxy, in this universe, whatever. He's the God of this particular plane of existence, which explains clearly why Jesus was able to be hung on a cross and killed. That's because Jesus was an interloper, just as I am, coming into a reality that we are not indigenous to. So the term cognitive dissonance aptly explains the mindset of people that believe non-duality innocently. And what I mean innocently is they choose it because it seems so appealing, because those that teach it all the way from Adi Shankara from 1,000 years ago to almost all the great gurus and teachers of spirituality have defaulted to that lie, if you will. Now, what are those terms and what do they mean? Non-duality. Now, mind you, when I explain it, you're going to have a different take on it. And the reason you're going to, when I say you, I mean those that believe in non-duality. The reason you're going to have a different take on it is because you have been purposely lied to your entire life about it. You have been manipulated, you have been tricked, deceived. Now, those that originally teach it, or the renowned gurus and teachers, they may also be victims of the same teachings, but it all emanates from the same source, which is demonic evil forces. The reason it is so appealing is because it's like the physical body. What does the physical body like? Okay, so the physical body may like to get drunk. The physical body may like to get stoned on drugs. The physical body may enjoy illicit and wild and crazy sex. The physical body may enjoy greed. It may enjoy murder, kill, rape, pillage, plunder. All of these things are physical. But the body is also attracted to the concept of non-duality. Why? Because the body is created from a non-duality type belief source that is beyond this physical realm. And so it is automatically attracted to it because it's of the same source, the same kind. That's why it's so easy to teach the concept of non-duality. People that fall for that false teaching are attracted because they absorb it with their physical mind and senses. That's why. Now, on a different level, why are they attracted to it? Well, if we go back to the essence source, now I'm speaking about duality. Why are people with the concept of duality, in place here, why are people attracted, spiritually speaking, to non-duality? Well, when Jesus was on the earth, he taught a concept and was speaking to people, and he said something to the effect that you people are evil and disgusting and everything. Why? Because your father is the devil, and you are attracted to that of your father. That's the same attraction to non-duality, because Satan is the author of non-duality. So if you have a proclivity or an attraction to the devil, then you will be attracted and gravitate to the teaching of non-duality. Now, what is non-duality? Non-duality is actually the concept, and when I say concept, it's also a reality. So if you take 100% of everything in the physical universe, it is non-dual. Now, our bodies, the stars, the earth, bugs, plants, whatever, it doesn't matter. 100% of everything in the universe is non-dual. It appears separate, but in fact, it is non-dual. It is all from a single source. With that being said, this is where people start having cognitive dissonance, and that is when we start talking about the concept of free will. The concept of non-duality says that I am an aspect of the creator God of this universe. I, my soul, my essence, everything that I am, reduced to whatever the smallest reduction can be, is a creation of the creator of this universe, this reality of all things. And when you bring in the concept of free will is impossible to create. It cannot be created, not by God, not by anyone or anything. Brahma cannot create free will. Shiva cannot create free will. Jesus, the Christ, cannot create free will. Free will is an existential aspect of a sovereign individual essence. This is why sin exists in the world, because free will exists. There are choices available. You can choose to follow Satan or God or Christ. You can choose good and evil. Good and evil exist only because of duality. The cognitive dissonance of those that believe in non-duality say that good and evil are just simply different sides of the same coin. This is called cognitive dissonance. They are ignorant of the fact that free will is, in fact, an existential causation of the separate and sovereign essence that was not created by Brahma. The essence of what I am was not created by anyone, any gods, or anything. The sovereign essence of my being is just as sovereign, just as independent as Brahma, as Shiva, as Christ, as anything, the most highest God creator you can think of. The essence of what I am is just as independent as that God is. The reason love exists between the essence of what I am and something else or someone else or God, the reason love has value is because of the sovereign nature of duality. Otherwise, there's no such thing as love. Cognitive dissonance arises because people that believe in non-duality believe that they have love. And in fact, they do. But they are tricked. They are brainwashed into thinking that free will and love and all of these things are a derivative of the Creator God. But this is not true. It cannot exist. Now, there are way deeper details that go into explaining non-duality, but all these deeper details are ways to trick, fool, and pull the cover over the eyes of people or seekers, spiritual seekers, to capture their mind and their essence, to pull them away, because the core essence of what you are is dynamic. When I say dynamic, I mean you cannot understand the concept or nature of dynamic in the way I'm expressing it, unless you have become one with God. Then unless you have become fully enlightened, there is no way for you to understand the concept that I'm talking about. Between yourself and God, there's equality there. In other words, why does this reality exist? And I was going to go down that rabbit hole, but I'm not going to at this time. Just suffice it to say, those are the descriptions between duality and non-duality. If I were to have a conversation with you on email, I would be more than happy to address your concerns, and I will carry on a conversation with you for years and years and years if need be. Because my goals are exactly the same as Shiva, exactly the same as Brahma, exactly the same as Christ. And what are my goals? And what are their goals? Their goals are to attract you to their side, to my side. If I were to attract one person in my entire lifetime, or 1,000,000 people in my entire lifetime, what does that do for me? That would be like saying, what does it do for a mother to her child to, when this baby is 4 months old, what does it do for the mother to wipe that child's ass and clean up after it pukes and all that? What is the benefit to the mother? The mother does it out of love, because the mother loves the child. Jesus tried to express that in a way about the mother hen gathers its chicks under itself to protect them and stuff. Eventually, they will grow up and they will leave the nest and they will be on their own. But it's important to give them every opportunity possible, to teach them every way possible, so that they eventually can utilize their free will nature to choose where to be. If I were to capture 1,000,000 people in my lifetime that would go, you know what, this guy here, this teacher, I love him. I appreciate what he's doing. I'm going to look into what he teaches and follow him to the ends of the earth because I trust him. The ultimate outcome of that would be that in the eternity of things, you and I will be eternal friends, which means I do not rule over you. I have no authority over you. I don't control you, and vice versa. We are eternal friends. I'm helping you right now because you need help. I needed help. I had a guru friend, Jim, who helped me to become enlightened. The man was indeed a sociopath. I know this to be true. He was a horrible person in many respects. He was hateful in many respects. But God knew that that is the exact type of individual that would force me to go beyond my limits, to force me into areas that I did not feel comfortable going. That was the only person on earth capable of doing that. And I will eternally love him for that. when he died, the position that he was in would certainly not allow him to become one with God because of the choices he's made in his life. Does that mean he was a bad person? Absolutely not. I don't think he ever did anything horrible in his life. In fact, I suspect I am much more guilty of sin than he is. But he was steadfast in his beliefs of non-duality. And because of our friendship, beyond the grave and into his eternal progression, I ramrodded home just like he was pressuring me and I became enlightened. I did the same to him, and in the eternal scheme of things, I believe in his future life or lives, he will become just like myself, God enlightened, because I loved him and he loved me. That's what I'm trying to do for you. Whether these things happen in this lifetime or in the next lifetime, I am a power to be reckoned with. I am unmovable. You cannot trick me. You cannot control me. Why? Because I'm enlightened. Why? Because I'm God enlightened. What does God enlightened and what does enlightenment mean? As I expressed in my last video, enlightenment simply means you have become aware and one with reality. You understand reality because you're understanding it from the source, not from your current position, but from the source. You understand reality and you understand what it is and what it isn't. That is spiritual enlightenment, just like Buddha. The other concept of God enlightenment that I speak of would be closely aligned with the teachings of Jesus. Meaning, when I say the teachings of Jesus, I actually mean the person Jesus. He was God enlightened. He was one with God. He was enlightened to the aspect that there was no question whether or not God is real. He knew it. There was no way to trick him into believing God wasn't real. Just like there's no way to trick me into believing in non-duality, or me believing that God doesn't exist, or me believing enlightenment is something other than what it truly is. I can't be tricked because I have become one with those things. Now, when I say those things, why do I promote forcefully and tell you directly that I'm enlightened? I'll tell you why. Because I found it to be incredibly disconcerting and disingenuous when I was in Christian churches in my life for people to have the title of, say, apostle, for instance, or prophet, or something of that nature, to have that title and never, ever claim it to be true. In other words, does the apostle say, I am an apostle of God, because the definition of an apostle is that they have become one with the teacher, meaning Jesus, that they have met Jesus personally and they know his nature because they have been contacted by Jesus, instructed by Jesus, taught by Jesus, and now is out in the world teaching what Jesus would otherwise teach. That is the definition of an apostle. And when you talk to them, you go, oh, are you really an apostle? Because you have the title of apostle. So are you an apostle? Have you met Jesus? And they just brush it off. Why do they brush it off? Because they are not an apostle. They have never met, walked, and talked with Jesus. They are not God enlightened. But they have the title. And it used to frustrate the hell out of me because my entire life, since I was an infant, I drive for the truth. The truth is so damned important to me that I sacrifice everything to know what the truth is. So when you are learning from a guru or a teacher or whatever, and they're teaching you about spiritual enlightenment, and you go, Master, are you enlightened? And they laugh it off a little bit. Ha ha ha. Well, some say that I am. Yeah, but what do you say that you are? Well, you know, there's lots of things to be said about enlightenment. They're not enlightened. They're lying to you. You are believing them because there's this personification that is a given without them admitting to what it truly is. They don't admit they're enlightened because they are not. And if you're not enlightened, how can you possibly teach other people about enlightenment? All you can do is give them the dictionary meaning of enlightenment. That's all they're able to do. In other words, you could get the same thing from opening the dictionary or the encyclopedia online and reading what enlightenment is and then telling yourself, well, I understand everything there is to understand. It must mean I'm enlightened because I read the definition in the dictionary. That's what you're getting from teachers. Now, if they admit that that's what you're getting, then there's nothing wrong with those teachers or gurus. If they say, look, I am not enlightened, but I have read a lot of books about enlightenment. I have talked to a lot of gurus that I think were enlightened, but I don't know for sure because they've never actually admitted that they were enlightened, but I'm pretty sure they were. And I've studied a long lifetime about it. And so I'm able to teach, and I like to teach you about what enlightenment is. But myself, I'm not really enlightened. If they were to say that, then they would be honest, and that would be a good person to learn from. They'll help you along the path. They're not going to push you over the edge because they don't know how. They don't know what over the edge is. They've never been over the edge. But a lot of them are good people. But you have to push them to find out what the truth is. Because almost all the time, they're never going to divulge whether or not they're enlightened. And I would say about 99% of the time, when they say they're enlightened, they're delusional. They're not really enlightened. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They've fallen into the trap of being convinced they're enlightened because someone else told them they were. All right, I think I've droned on long enough today. Again, I'm having fun with this camera. Hopefully I can figure this out and make all this stuff work quick and easy. With that, I love you. Again, I hope the best for you. And I hope you do well in this life. And with that, I will talk to you later. Bye.